What's good, beautiful people? What is up? This is your boy Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. As y'all can see, I got the Don Dada, the big fella, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, the what do you say? The consigliere. You know what I mean?
There
Like
you
the
go. Consigliere, yeah. That's right.
guy. You already know he needs no major introduction, but I'm gonna do it anyway because he's my man. Philly 500, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, boss on YouTube when it comes to this Eagles content game. My man, how are you feeling?
Man, I am doing good, man. Thank you. That very warm introduction. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me, and I just thank you for having me on, man. I've been looking forward to this, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Like I said to you before, I'm glad you was able to, fit me in. I know you're a busy guy. You like, yes, I can only imagine what your schedule's like. You were on the National Football Show earlier with Dan Sileo. I know you had a live stream earlier. I know you do the Philly Shakedown with Joey Shakes, and I know you're just constantly pumping out the content and keeping the pressure on. So, man, I gotta really just pay homage to you because I've been paying attention to what you do. You, Joey Shakes, guys like Laura Brunson, guys like Joe Castro, Philly Mike, Philly Fresh, all those guys is really doing on a high level. Gate City, I pay attention to a lot of you guys, man, and true inspiration in doing what you do, my guy.
Thank you, man. That's too kind. I appreciate it, man. I do. It worked out for me perfect. I took today off, so everything seemed like it just broke right for me today. So I was able to do all these things. So it's cool.
For sure, man. But enough with the pleasantries. Let's get right into the
Let's
heat of
do
the
it.
matter, bro.
Yes.
James Bradberry. Like, all right,
Yeah.
I'll be the first to say, prior to the draft, I was giving Howie Roseman a lot of heat, as we all were, because from our perspective, we looked at it as, okay, you have this kid in Jalen Hurts that you're trying to figure out what he is or how good he can be, but you haven't made any moves to really indicate that you're trying to make sure he's in the best environment to succeed. So
Yeah.
you bring in AJ Brown, great, and we're going to touch on that too. But on the defense side of the ball, Hassan Reddick, Kazera White, Nakobe Dean in the draft, Jordan Davis in the draft. We're going to touch on all that. But the most recent news, James Bradberry, man, I need to know, what were your initial thoughts on it?
Mine were perfect. This is exactly what we needed. This is exactly what I did videos talking about they needed to do, was go out and make a play for James Bradberry, and they nailed it, and they got it. And to me, this fills a major hole, even in my opinion, more so than the safety position. Like, this was a gigantic get for the Eagles. This is something you get the first few days of free agency, let alone after the draft in May. So I thought it was just a tremendous signing. I was excited, no question about it.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned something real interesting. The whole concept of filling a hole more important than the safety position, right? And I asked people, if you had an option of filling that safety position with someone you trust versus filling that cornerback 2 position with someone you trust, what would you choose? And most people chose that cornerback position, and rightfully so, because the cornerback position, in my opinion, is valued a bit higher than the safety position.
Right.
The cornerback position, you're in direct contact with these star wide receivers. And on top of that, you had some people who even said, oh, why they gave him that much money. It's like, well, technically, if we're being really honest about it, we actually gave him less money than what he was going to make with the Giants. And on top of that, it's not really a $10 million deal. It's a $7.5 million deal with 2.5 in incentives. And that's if he hits those. So it's really a low risk, high reward situation, and by my estimation.
Yeah, I agree. It's a 1-year deal. He's 28 years old. He went to the Giants as a top corner, right? As cornerback number 1. He had one good year with the Giants, and then he had a so-so year. However, he's still a capable starter. He's still a good number 2. I think he's a really good number 2 corner. Exactly. So you bringing him in, and you're only paying him for 1 year. And remember, people forget, he is playing opposite of Darius Slay. He is not the number 1 corner. And when you look at it, like you talked about how the cornerback position, is more valuable than the safety position, which it is. But also from the Eagles, like, depth chart, if you look at it from their depth chart and from what the Eagles have at corner and have at safety, I trust Marcus Epps to go out and be a lot more, playable and trustworthy than I did Zach McPherson or any of these other guys. I feel like at least Epps could go out and play. I feel like he could be decent. I feel like he could be a decent bridge safety for 1 year. And to me, if you go out and sign a safety and then you have no corner, that's a big problem. So to me, that was a smart move. It was the right move by the Eagles. And I think this is an upgrade from Steven Nelson of a year ago.
I agree with you 100%. I actually said that on my live stream earlier that, Steven Nelson was good. He was solid. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't great. He was, if I had to grade Steven Nelson's season with us last year or this past season, I would say B-, something like that. I wouldn't give him a terrible grade at all.
Right.
I feel like he was serviceable, did his job, wasn't as much of a liability as a Jalen Mills or Ronald Darby, right? Or even a Sidney Jones. But adding James Bradberry is clearly an upgrade. You have some people who are saying, oh, he got torched by CeeDee Lamb. He got torched by this person, that person. And my thing is, well, the Giants were terrible in general. They had no pass rush. And when you don't have a pass rush, it's really easy for those wide receivers to really get off on you. But even beyond that, people forget James Bradberry was considered, and he was actually ranked officially by the NFL as a top 100 player in 2021. Right.
Yeah,
he's a top 100 player who's well respected by his peers, who's well respected by teammates. Like, there are reports that teammates were genuinely upset that he got moved, and of course it was a money play. But what do you think his impact is going to be on this team? Because we have guys like Darius Slay, like you mentioned. We have Avonte Maddox, who was coming into his own at that slot position. We also have Marcus Epps at that safety position. Anthony Harris, a savvy veteran. How do you think? What do you think James Bradberry's impact is going to be once he touches down in Philadelphia? Because he's only driving up the interstate.
Yeah, well, I think obviously he comes in motivated, right? His thing is that if he has one good year with Philly, he can go sign a bigger contract next year and get more money. So there's a lot of motivation for him to come in and be really good. And it's great to hear that the other players like him, But I look at it from a standpoint of on the field. I know he often is graded as a very high zone corner, but I also think that it allows you to play a little more man-to-man as well. And if you could allow those corners to be man-to-man and bring extra pressure against the quarterback, I think it could be a great benefit to this defense. You know what I mean? I want to see Darius Slay follow the best. I want him to shadow the best receiver at all times. I want Bradberry on that other guy. And as long as they do that and they can bring maybe extra guys and blitz and get to the quarterback, I think it could be a big impact for this defense,
Right. Now let me approach it from this perspective. I know you mentioned you want Darius Slay covering the best wide receiver at all times, right? But
yeah,
I'm a firm believer that matchups matter. And this works, and for everyone's benefit of what I'm about to say. When you think about, for example, Darius Slay and James Bradberry, they're not exactly the same type of corner. They play different.
Right.
One may be more physical, or one may be a little quicker on his feet, whatever it may be, right? But there may be a game where, from a matchup perspective, not even really from a talent perspective, just from a physical matchup, or maybe he just happens to have that wide receiver's number on the regular, there may be a game where James Bradberry may be asked, okay, you know what? Historically, you have great matchups against this wide receiver. Even though he's the number one, we want you to guard him, and Darius Slay, we want you to guard the number two. Sometimes I don't really think at all times the best has to guard the best. It's all about who gives who the most trouble. What's your thoughts on that?
Right. No, I think that's true, and that definitely can play a factor. The way I kind of look at it, like when I think of corners, right, and I think of prideful corners and guys like Darius Slay, I think what gets them the most amped up for a game? What gets them the most mentally, physically involved in a game? It's the opportunity to shut down the best receiver. That's what they feed on. That's what they feast on. That's what gets them going. I am not going to take my best corner or even Bradberry, and I am not going to take that motivation from them. So
Understood.
I don't mind doing it, but I got to be careful about how it's done. You know what I mean?
Right. It'd be
That's
different if. Go ahead.
like Darius Slay going to go up against CeeDee Lamb. Well, I mean, there's going to be nothing better for him than to hold CeeDee Lamb to under 100 yards, do nothing against him. That's what's going to get him going in that game. That's what his motivation is going into that game. I want to use that to my benefit.
Right. Completely understandable. Like you said, cornerback, even wide receiver, those are what you say, prideful positions.
Yeah.
And those guys are really big on who they, who they're able to put on their resume in terms of strapping them up, right?
Right.
And you may be onto something. Now if they're mid game and the matchup just isn't working, then they say, okay, let's rotate real quick. That
right.
I can work with that, right? And I think that's more so what I mean. I definitely want my star corner guarding the star wide receiver.
Right.
But if we're mid game and I see, okay, you know what, there's he keep getting you on this same route. Let's rotate it. Let's see if Bradberry fares a little better. Right. And it is what it is. That's called adjustments, right? Now, James Bradberry, he had a very interesting career with the Giants. How much responsibility do you put on him in terms of how his season went last year versus how bad the Giants were in general?
That's hard to tell. I mean that's hard to tell. There were games where I saw him get beat. But they had, like you said earlier, they had no pass rush. The team was shot. There are times that they look like they quit on their coaches. I don't know how much you put on him. I don't. I know the first year there, he had a really good year for the Giants, and he was pretty good. I mean, the Giant fans did not hesitate to tell you that Bradberry was better than Darius Slay. So I don't know how much stock I don't know how much of it was his fault, how much was the scheme, the team not using him right, not the pass rush, or just the team not playing for it's hard to know. It's hard to know. I do know that when you look at him from zone, in zone coverage, he was still rated one of the best corners in the league last year. And the Eagles will play a lot more zone coverage than I even like. So there are going to be times where they're playing zone coverage, and so that may put him with the best corner or the best wide receiver rather. But it's hard to say and it's hard to know. But I think he's got something left. I still believe that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they even asked him why Philly, right? And his exact words were, "I felt that going to Philly gave me the best opportunity for success." And I paraphrase a little bit, but he basically said that going to Philly was the best situation for me to showcase my skill set.
Yeah.
And that tells me, because at the end of the day, he has to have conversations. I'm pretty sure he had conversations not only with Howie Roseman, but he had a conversation with JG to figure out, okay, if I do sign here, what's your plan for me? Well, how do you plan to use me? And I'm pretty sure JG laid it all out, and he said, okay, deal. And I'm really curious to see, if you ask me, if there's a lot of pressure on JG, damn near as much as pressure on Jalen Hurts. I know Jalen Hurts, his job is on the line, but JG, you can make an argument the same for him as well, because he was supposed to be a head coaching candidate, this offseason. And, this can be a make or break season for him in terms of how teams view him as, a play caller on defense, since that's his specialty. How do you anticipate JG, going forward, with this defense, especially now that he has what he needs? He's been one of the loudest people in the room saying, "I don't have what I need to do what I want to do." And
that's been his excuse.
Yeah.
That's been his excuse, right? But he had guys like Patrick Mahomes, Derek Carr, the kid from the Chargers, I'm forgetting his name offhand, Tom Brady. All these guys went out and threw over 80% completion percentage against him. And he said, I don't have the players to do what I need to do. So the Eagles go out and they get him the players. So what I'm expecting is I'm expecting to see a lot more aggressive defense, a defense that blitzes a lot more, sends the linebackers a lot more, and we're going to see a different team. That's what I'm expecting. If we get anything less than that, he's got to go. I have very little trust in him. Probably out of everybody, I trust him the least. And to me, it is a concern. It is something that I worry about. I'm hoping that he wasn't kidding, that it was the personnel, and we're going to see a big change this year. I hope.
Right. Now, it's funny. Darius Slay, he has his habit of recruiting guys, right? Going on Twitter saying, "Hey, like my boy, come play with us." You know what I'm saying? How do you, a lot of people are saying this is arguably the best cornerback duo we've had since maybe Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown, or even Lito Shepherd and Asante Samuel. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, because right, like after Asante Samuel left, they went through horrendous group of corners with Osama and then Maxwell, and then all these other guys, right? Kerry Williams. I mean, they went through some horrendous corners. So I think that's probably fair to say. It probably is the best group of corners that they've had since Asante Samuel, and I guess Lito was there at the same time. So right. Yeah, I guess if I don't even remember if Lito was there at the same time as Asante, but I guess he was. But yeah, to me that would have to be the last time we had something this competent. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, shifting gears from, as a matter of fact, no, one more question about James Bradberry and just the cornerback room in general. Prior to bringing in James Bradberry, like we mentioned before, Zach McPherson, Tate Gowan, Mac McCain, Kerry Vincent Jr., Craig James. We brought in Josh Jobe, and we brought in a bunch of different guys to compete in that cornerback room. And I was of the mindset of, if we happen to not get James Bradberry or any star cornerback to play that CB2 spot, I wouldn't mind allowing those guys to compete for that starting CB2 spot, because the cream would naturally rise to the top. What do you think James Bradberry's presence, not just as far as Darius Slay, but a guy like Avonte Maddox and his game developing, and a guy like Tate Gowan and all those other young guys, what do you think the presence of a Darius Slay and a James Bradberry will do for the development of young guys like a Tate Gowan, Zach McPherson, and all those other guys I mentioned?
Well, based upon what we've heard of Bradberry, that he's a good teammate, players didn't want him to leave. Hell, the Giants didn't even want him to leave. Sounds like, he's a good teammate and a good guy, and if he can show those guys stuff, I think that's a great thing. Darius Slay, you kind of know what you get. I like it because Avonte Maddox is now secure in that slot position. That's where he can focus on, do his thing. And my thought with these young guys are simple. I don't mind them getting a chance. I don't mind them going out and showing something, but have a veteran there just in case. So if these guys are ready or that good, then let them go out and outplay James Bradberry. But if they can't, it's good to have him as a security blanket. And I'm sure that there's a lot that they can learn from him. It's just how much is he willing to teach him and all those kind of things. I don't know a lot about his personality and stuff like that. Only the few things we heard, but if he's anything like Darius Slay, we're set up nice.
Absolutely, I would agree with you 110%. Overall, this move for James Bradberry pushes the Eagles, to a whole another level. Not just defensively, but as a team. Howie Roseman has been making moves this offseason, and he hasn't taken his foot off the gas. A lot of people are saying, he's cooking with gas, he's cooking with kerosene. You know what I mean?
Cooking with something. I don't know what it is, but I like it.
For sure, man. He got that secret sauce right now. I don't know what it is. It seems like he got this swag about him now. What's your thoughts on Howie Roseman overall right now? Because, like I said, he seems like he's walking with a limp now. He's walking with a little dip. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the Eagles been saying, they letting him hang now.
He's letting him hang. He's pissing on his tiptoes, right? Yeah. Listen, I want to say one other thing though. We talk about like the corners being the best since Lito and Asante, what about the linebackers? This is the best linebacking group they've had since Jeremiah Trotter, Carlos Emmons, and those guys. So it's been a while since they've also had linebackers like this. And as far as Howie goes, I mean, listen, I have been probably more critical of Howie Roseman and some of his moves that he's made over the years than anybody. But I can only criticize one move this offseason, and that's re-signing Derek Barnett. Other than that, I think he's had a great offseason. I mean, he's nailed it. And this is the second year in a row where I thought he's done a great job. So if I get one more good year, or if he goes and gets one of these safeties, then I have to do a dedicated apology video to Howie Roseman. It's got to happen. You know?
Oh my goodness. You know what? It's interesting because, I've been asking people, this question, and is Howie Roseman evolving as a GM in front of our very eyes? Because let's think about it from this perspective. Howie Roseman he's been a numbers guy throughout his entire career with the Philadelphia Eagles. Remember, he came in as a lawyer, and he learned under Andy Reid and I believe Joe Banner and those guys, right? And he finally got the keys, and he was good with moving the numbers around, finessing the cap and trade negotiations and free agent negotiations. He was always good, with the logistics of being the GM.
Yeah.
But when it came to the creativity, when it came to evaluating the talent aspect of the game, he struggled tremendously.
Yeah.
And is it fair to say that he's finally, or his football acumen is finally starting to catch up to where the NFL is right now? Is it fair to say that he's evolving literally, and the best has yet to come for Howie Roseman?
It seems like he is. It seems like he's gotten better. I could tell you one thing. I think some of it's been common sense stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like draft in the SEC. You're most likely not going to go wrong drafting from Georgia, drafting from Alabama. You have a better chance of hit than drafting from UCLA or USC or any of those schools. Stay away from those schools. Stick in the SEC. That's the first thing, And I gotta say, one thing I like too is he didn't draft a wide receiver. He traded for one. So maybe he's recognizing, hey, maybe I don't draft this position good. It's okay, and it's worth going out and trading for a guy that's already been established, But I mean, you got to give the guy credit. Right now, I think he's on a roll. Right now, I think he's the best. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think he's. I just can't. But I think he's the best GM in football right now.
Oh my
goodness! There's no other GM that has had the offseason this guy has. That he's had from a trade perspective. You're talking about a team that went out and got A.J. Brown, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, and Cam Jurgens all in the same draft, all who I think are bona fide instant starters. Okay, and Jordan Davis, maybe he rotates first year, maybe Jurgens has to wait a year, but they're all going to be starters. And then you look at him, and he's still got 2 first-round picks next year.
I'm not gonna lie. He's looking dangerous.
And loaded. So right now, Howie's done something very hard. And I said this on Cilio's channel. It's very hard to rebuild and make yourself competitive the following year. He went out and he built a team. I mean, all these moves we made, this isn't like when they got Osma that year. I don't like to say the 2 words, the DT word. I don't say it. But he went out and got young players. He got players that aren't – it's not just about this year. Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, A.J. Brown's 24 years old. This is about 4 or 5 years down the road. So he's building a team for the future as well as building it for next year, because all these guys can compete and play next year as well. And then you have White and Bradberry. They're 2 one-year signings that help you next year. He's had a great balance in doing that. And I think that's very hard to do. Very hard to do.
I agree with you 150%. It's not just that. It's hard to be able to – how often does a GM or does a team check every box in terms of their needs in the offseason? And to not only do so strategically, but you actually got real ballers You didn't just bring in some guys that you were rolling the dice on. AJ Brown, you're not rolling the dice. You know exactly what that table going to do. That table going to come through for you.
Right.
James Bradberry, you're not rolling too many dice on that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If anybody we brought in that wasn't on this team originally that we're rolling the dice on, maybe Kaiser White, maybe.
Right.
But Hassan Reddick, you're not rolling the dice on that. He's shown that in 2 different systems in back-to-back years, he was able to go back-to-back years with double-digit sacks. I believe it was 23 sacks total between both seasons. That is something that's not easy to do, especially learning a new system, and you don't know how that team is going to use you. And it's just such a beautiful situation that the Eagles have found themselves in. And as much as it pains us, Howie Roseman is looking like the best GM in football. Like I said, to be able to take care of all of your needs in one offseason and still have some money left over to play with is amazing. And on top of that, let me get your thoughts on this. The Eagles.
Hey, you got a swamp rat in the chat.
Oh man,
there's a swamp rat in the chat. Oh, Pizzle, make that mayonnaise sandwich, buddy.
Yo, did you see the video of Bad Dog? He was livid when we got Bradberry.
Oh, was he? I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my God, he was livid. But I digress. So literally, think about this, right? And I want your thoughts on this. I don't want to say historically, but let's just say for the past 10 seasons.
Right.
The Philadelphia Eagles were not really, they were known for having one of the weaker wide receiver cores in the NFL and one of the weaker cornerback rooms, DB rooms in the NFL. Yeah. Most importantly, the cornerback rooms. What's your thoughts on just the whole fact that we completely turned that on its head? We're on the completely other side of the spectrum now. Now we're considered to have one of the better wide receiver rooms in the NFL, one of the better cornerback rooms in the NFL. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's what it's what a good trade and a good free agency signing can do for you. I mean, they traded for Darius Slay, they traded for they signed Bradberry, they traded for AJ Brown, and they drafted Devonta Smith. I think it's great. The only caution that I would say we got to be careful of is that Bradberry and Darius Slay are probably not here long term, right? Darius Slay's got 1 year left on his contract, and then Bradberry's a 1 year deal. So it's a temporary fix and it's a good thing, but we're gonna have to really address that secondary, no question about it.
Yeah, yeah, man. And let's do the super chat real quick. Shout out to my man Birdman951 with the $4.99 super chat. Always supports the channel. Really appreciate him. He says, I own Copizzle.
I like Copizzle. I got to tell you, I like the guy. Right? I went on a show with him and Rio and Mark Holmes. And Pizzle, first thing out of his mouth is he butters me up. He's talking about the moon landing and all that shit. And he starts buttering me up. So that way he can attack Mark Holmes and I won't do anything about it. I was like thinking, this guy's pretty smart. That was really sneaky. I get Pizzle. I get him. He's a character. I like the guy. He's a swamp rat eating mayonnaise sandwiches out there in the swamp. But I kind of like him. I kind of like him. Anybody attacks Mark Holmes with that vigor, I gotta love him. So he can come in and call me names. I don't mind. I think Pizzle's a little sad because his Giants are about to get their asses kicked again, double moonwalked.
For sure. And they snuck us last year. It should never happen, but they snuck us, and that was one of the more embarrassing losses I've ever felt in the past few years. I'll admit that.
Yeah, well, it was. No question about it.
But let me ask you about. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Let me ask you about the safety position now. Anthony Harris is there. He was serviceable last season. Serviceable. Wasn't exceptional. Wasn't terrible. He was serviceable. But that opposite him, the word is Marcus Epps is going to be that guy. Obviously, they're going to have him compete, but we all know Kevon Wallace is not even close to Marcus Epps right now.
Right.
So, what's your thoughts on Marcus Epps taking over that safety position?
Look, I'm more high on Marcus Epps than a lot of people. I don't think he's like a 4-year starter or anybody like that, or anything like that. I think he's he could be a really good backup and a solid player for at least a year, at least as a bridge safety. Maybe he can go out and be even more than that. Maybe he's not the bridge safety. Maybe Anthony Harris is. So I think Epps has some upside. I do, and I trust him having to play, especially when I got Bradberry and Darius Slay as my corners. So yeah, we do need to upgrade at safety. Will the Eagles go out and make another big move? I don't know. I don't think so, but you never know. You never know, Howie. But I mean, I think he's good for 1 year. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, the thing about Marcus Epps is I wasn't high on him at first, but seeing him play last year, come in spots when guys got hurt, and seeing him come in the previous season, he had 2 interceptions in 2020 and 1 last year against the Jets, and he's the type of guy that, if you ask me, has taken advantage of the opportunities when he's had them. He plays very physical, not afraid to lay guys down into the turf. I like the way he approaches the position.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really interesting to pay attention to as well. I want to get, because me and you haven't spoken since we haven't had each other on each other's channels since the last year's draft. So,
right.
I want to pick your brain about this year's draft class. We brought in Jordan Davis, Kim Jurgens at center in the 2nd round, Nakobe Dean, arguably the steal of the draft in the 3rd round. Karan Johnson of Kansas, the linebacker, who, in my opinion, could probably transition to edge rusher. And then you have Grant Calcaterra, a tight end, who was actually pretty talented, but left the game because of concussions and came back and, was able to get drafted. So what's your thoughts on the draft class in general and just how Howie Roseman maneuvered through it?
Yeah. I thought it was a fantastic draft. I was kind of feeling Jordan Davis was going to be the guy. When what's his face? Oh, God, the kid from Michigan, David Ojabo was available before he got hurt. I thought that was the Eagles' target. I thought it was him, then Jordan Davis. Once he got hurt, I thought it was Jordan Davis, and it was interesting that they signed. As soon as Ojabo got hurt, they signed Derek Barnett to a contract extension. And then I thought it was going to be Jordan Davis. I thought they would have to trade up to get Jordan Davis, and they did. And that's exactly what they did. And then I was doing videos saying, look, listen, DK is available, Debo's available, AJ Brown's available. I don't care which one of them. Take that 18th pick and get one of those guys. They went out and they did exactly that, which was a really smart move for so many reasons. Okay. And the Cam Jurgens pick, a lot of people didn't like it. It's not a flashy pick, but I thought it was a smart pick. And I really liked the pick. I thought it was good. The Nakobe Dean was basically the steal of the draft, in my opinion. Now, they gave up a lot of draft capital to get those guys, but I think they got at least 4 starters out of this draft. And if you get 4 starters out of any draft, that's a pretty good draft. The other guys like Karen Johnson and those guys, I don't know enough about them. I mean, they look like they have some upside and stuff, but I don't know. We'll see what they are.
Yeah, just to give you a little insight on the kid Karan Johnson, he's a very interesting prospect to me because he's somebody that he went to a school that's not really known for their football, but here are the unique traits about him. The dude ran a 4.40 at the pro day, and 39-inch vertical, 10-foot broad jump. A 6.98 cone time. He's an athletic freak, right, for the position.
Yep.
And he played linebacker. And he played linebacker in college. Rotated between inside and weak side, but he didn't necessarily thrive purely as a linebacker. Where he started to actually rise, his draft stock was when they started to use him in pass rush situations. He was a 3-year starter. He was a 3-year starter at Kansas, and he has a stout frame, and he has a flexibility that allows him to get around that corner. But right now his projection is a special teams guy, and having a guy that has that kind of speed, has that kind of strength and intensity, the way they play the game, it's going to be really interesting to see how he develops, because if you can develop him into becoming, kind of like that Hassan Reddick role, that edge rusher / linebacker. That can be that'll be interesting because the linebacker room, the Eagles have they addressed it more than what I thought. You mentioned it earlier. The linebackers, Nakobe Dean and Kaiser White, Hassan Reddick, all those guys, they addressed it more than I thought they would. And when you couple those additions with a guy like Davion Taylor, who showed promise last year until he got hurt and has athletic traits that makes you still want to have faith in him, still needs to sharpen up his instincts, but has those traits that gives him a longer leash, right? Not really sure what Sean Bradley is going to do in the long term with his team. Same thing with Jacoby Stevens, but that linebacker position. What's your thoughts on how Howie Roseman addressed it, and the moves he made, in particular the people he went after?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Hassan Reddick. A lot of people were surprised by it, but it was funny because
for the record, I called it, by the way.
Yeah, did you? A week before free agency started, I started saying I think they're going to sign him because I went back and I was watching Jonathan Gannon press conferences, and they were asking him a lot about his defense, and he was talking about running a hybrids. He wants to run hybrid scheme 4-3-3-4, and he wants to switch out. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you really want to do that, then you got to make a play for Hassan Reddick because you don't really have the personnel to do that right now. Absolutely. And that's when they went out and they did it. So I thought that was a great move. The Nakobe Dean, I just think, here's a kid who's by every mock draft there was, he was a first-round talent. And if you want to say he's too small, he's a second-round talent. He still went in the third round. So there's a kid that you have to get talent-wise. And then Kaiser White, by all accounts, from what I know of him in the Chargers, and I haven't watched a lot of them, but from what they say of him is the Chargers, a lot of people were upset he was gone. They thought he was a pretty good guy. So, you add those three guys on top of having TJ Edwards, who I kind of like, and then Davion Taylor, a kid that if he could just stay healthy, has shown some flashes. So I think they're vastly improved at linebacker,
For sure. And shout out to Sloppy Joe's Sloppy Show with the $5 super chat.
He's the man.
He says, yo, Karan Johnson bullied first-round tackle Trevor Penning at the Senior Bowl, and another highly drafted guy, too. When I heard, you're right, Sloppy Joe. When I heard about that, I was like, interesting. Of course, matchups matter, and, game speed is different from, one-on-one speed, or, doing one-on-ones, but that's how you rise your stock. That's how you, that's how you show that you're a force to be reckoned with, man. And the linebacker position is looking good, just in terms of talent, youth, versatility. I haven't seen this is probably the most promise the linebacker room has had in a long time.
Yeah, I agree, totally agree, man. I see a lot of people in here, man. Make sure you guys if you haven't, sub up my man here. Sub up Chalk It Up Sports, my man Tone. Shout out to him and thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely, bro. I'll be honest with you. I've never seen 300 people in my chat, since last time when you sent the purge on me. You know what I mean?
I remember. Yeah, that was fun,
bro. That was hilarious, bro. I'm sitting in the live stream and I'm just doing my thing. 10, 15, 20 people in there. We chopping it up. All of a sudden, 20 turned to 40, 40 turned to 80, 80 turned to 110. I'm like, whoa, stop. Did I break something? I'm tapping the screen. I'm like, yo. So all of a sudden, the story. People kept saying 500 raid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You want you guys link up. And, the rest is history, man. You were the guy. It's so funny, right? God works in mysterious ways, right? You were the one to push me over the cliff in terms of getting past 1K subs, right? And today I just passed 2,000 subs.
Did you really? That's awesome, man. Congratulations, man.
Right, man. Prior to us even setting, locking this in today, it happened earlier this morning, and the people are like, yo, you got 2,000, bro. I'm like, where? I'm in the middle of live stream, not paying attention. I'm trying to, entertain, right? And I was like, whoa, really? And it's just crazy how it came full circle once again.
That's cool.
Again, man, a lot of people may not realize, got a lot of respect.
You deserve it, man. You deserve it, man. You work hard, and I saw what you're doing, and I appreciate it, man. So I'm glad I could help out any way, man. I'm glad to hear you're 2,000. And if you guys are new channel, definitely sub up my man. He does a great job. A lot of respect for him.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate that. So, you know, I'm curious to see because we've mentioned AJ Brown. What's your thoughts on the AJ Brown Devontae Smith duo? Because you can make an argument for that group as well that's probably the best wide receiver duo we've had since I don't know, maybe Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, or if you want to take it a step further, um, Carmichael, Mike Quick, but that was I think Carmichael was on his last leg or something like that.
Yeah,
You know,
I was. Yeah, I started watching after Carmichael, so I started watching Mike Quick, but Carmichael was already gone, so it's hard for me to say. I remember Fred Barnett, Calvin Williams. I remember Macklin, Deshaun. I think these guys have the ability to be better because here's the honest truth in my mind. In 2 years, Devonta Smith's the best receiver on this team. He's better than AJ Brown. I think he's better than AJ Brown.
I think he's. You know what? You might be onto something because I think he's more technically sound. He came in with the highest floor, the best foundation. Would you agree?
Yeah, and look, if you put AJ Brown on Cincinnati, think he puts up similar numbers with Jamar Chase. If you do that last year, I mean, he was always open, and I don't think the Eagles utilized him right. To be honest with you, now I think AJ Brown, he's established. He comes in, he's going to be right away. He'll be the guy. But I think within 2 years, I think Devonta Smith is the better receiver. And I think people will see that. I think this is an amazing duo. I think it's going to be a great fit. I think they complement each other very well. And what's going to be interesting to me is to see how much the Eagles, do they change up? How much more passes do they do a game? Because I think they'll still be run heavy, but I don't think it's going to be as much as it was last year.
That's the interesting part because they started out trying to gunsling it, right? And then they realized, our quarterback is not quite there yet. If you ask me, I think they're going to throw the playbook at Jalen Hurts and say, look, you know as well as we know, it's sink or swim for you this year. We can't afford to coddle you this year. We can't afford to babysit you this year. You got to make it happen, win or lose. And
right.
That kind of leads into what Jersey Boy, who gave a $2 super chat, is asking. Do we have a top 10 offense or defense? What are your thoughts on that, Philip 500? Shout out to Jersey Boy with $2 super chat, by the way.
I think you have a top 10 defense. I think you have the question about the top 10 offense. That we'll see. That we're going to see because that's where Jalen Hurts has to take the next step. If he takes the next step, I think it is. If not, I think it'll be top 15, top 10. I don't know, but that's going to depend a lot about Jalen Hurts. He's got all the weapons. I think when you look at this, when you look at our receiving core, I think it's one of the best in the league. You look at our offensive line, I think it's one of the best in the league. I think we have one of the better tight ends in this league. I think you have all the tools to be that. But they got to go out and do it. Are they going to throw more? Are they going to run more? What's the style of offense going to look like? And not just Jalen Hurts, but it also depends on the coaches. Nick Sirianni's got to put these guys in better position. So, same with Steichen. That's what I would say.
Agree. And you're right. It is going to come down to that. We can. You don't win games, you don't win championships or Super Bowls in the offseason. You ultimately have to put it together. Shout out to Jersey Boy with the $2 super chat, man. Really appreciate you. Birdman 951 with another super chat. He says, congratulations, man. Well deserved. On my way to 400. Can't wait to hit 5. Yo, shout out to my man Birdman 951, man. Really a great dude. Appreciate him. Make sure you guys go subscribe to him. Birdman 951 on YouTube. He gives you a very different spin on the entire Eagles experience. He's giving you not just content creation and analysis, but he's also giving you the lifestyle of a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Travel vlogs, and my man was at the NFL draft. He was in Vegas. He goes all out for the birds, and y'all know he's gonna show y'all the low riders. You know what I mean? So make sure y'all go lock in on my man Birdman 951. Really a good dude, man. Holding it down on the West Coast, man. Sure. Matter of fact, speaking of the West Coast, 500. Are you still in California?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm still out here. Yeah.
Oh man, where are you originally from? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm from Philly, South Jersey area. Grew up Washington Township. Yeah.
Bad. Okay. So
then I came out here when I got married. So I'd never been to California until I met my wife. So
you know what?
I'm out here now.
I can't really argue. My wife has been trying to get somewhere warm for a while, and I'm like, look, I got some things I'm building over here right now, but
right.
but you know what, happy wife, happy life. You know what I mean? Happy
That's
spouse,
what
happy
they
house.
there's truth to that. Believe me, there's truth to that.
For sure, man, for sure. And also we got another 499 super chat. Hey, listen, geez, man, like 500, you good luck. I might have to bring you on every week. Shoot, like
Hey.
bring you on every week. I might be able to pay my rent with this. Mr. Michael New York, he said Philly, is it still possible that they could still trade, say, for Chuck Clark?
Anything is possible with Howie Roseman, right? We know that they negotiated with Baltimore about it. So yeah, it's very possible. Do I think they're going to do it? I believe the Eagles had one more move left, one big move. I think that was Bradberry, but I wouldn't put it past them. I kind of feel like this though. If I had to guess what they're going to do at safety, I have a feeling that is something that you could see possibly happen in season, like in the season before the trade deadline kind of move. But yeah, I mean, anything's possible. At this point, I don't put anything past the Eagles. Why? I mean, at all.
Yeah, at this point, right? It's like Howie Roseman has shown that he's willing to not only, he's not only throwing skip cards, he's throwing reverses, he's throwing draw twos, he's throwing wild cards. Like my man playing Uno flip right now. Like he's just going crazy. He's going crazy, man. So shout out to Mr. Michael New York with the $4.99 super chat. We got some more too, man. Shout out to my man J Bug, Jeremiah Butler with the $9.99 super chat. He going gold, y'all. He says this is all on paper right now, but we now have historically the deepest and possibly most talented O-line, D-line, best cornerback trio, most talented linebacker room, and most talented wide receiver trio. What's your thoughts on what Jay Boog is saying? Because he's right. At the end of the day, we got to put it together.
No, he's 100%. It's all on paper. It's all on paper. Right now, we've done nothing. Right, we've got to go out and prove it. So I agree. We haven't done anything yet. However, where we sit right here today, where we're at right now, this looks like a pretty formidable group, and they could have. I can't say most talented defensive line. I can't go there because the most talented defensive line was Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Clyde Simmons. You're talking about Reggie White, 18 sacks, Jerome Brown, 10 sacks, Clyde Simmons, 16, 17, 18, 19 sacks himself. So I would say that's going to be a hard group to beat. But O-line wise,
that was before they was playing 16 games, right?
Well, they were playing 16 games then, but that was before it was a pass-happy league. They only threw 15, 16, 20 times a game. Now they throw 40 times a game. So it's a different league. But that was an incredible defensive line. But they can be up there. You know what I mean? And I just think on paper right now this team looks great. We've got to go do it on the field. You got to stay healthy. There's a lot of factors that you got to take into account. However, here's the difference. The difference is if, let's say, they go out and they fail, it's going to fall on the coaches, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is these guys, a lot of these guys aren't here just for 1 year. They'll be back again. So this is not just about next year. It's partly about next year, but it's really about the future, about 3-4 years down the road. That's what they've built. They've built mainly on the future, but we're going to get some benefits into next year, as well.
Yeah, I think Howie Roseman learned his lesson in terms of trying to build it too quickly. Like one of the things he said in a few different press conference interviews, he said, "I'm actually trying to build this thing right now." Right. I feel like he was honestly shocked. Let's be totally honest. I mean, he of course he's making moves to win, right? And he saw that the team was trending in the right direction in 2017 towards that Super Bowl, but ultimately, you don't know what's going to happen. And when he saw the window, he said, "Well, I need to capitalize off this." And going into the 2018 season, that was the best opportunity to capitalize. We're a drop pass away from going to the NFC Championship, and I say we beat the Rams and we beat the Patriots too. Like just because of the momentum and just because of the swag we was playing with at that time. But man, like I really got to give credit to Howie Roseman for the way he's building it now. Like you said, now a lot of these guys aren't just here for this season. They're young and they're going to be here for 2, 3, 4 seasons going into the future. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah, and then
I mean, let's say AJ Brown's 24. AJ Brown's 24 years old. He was as young. There were players as old as him in its draft. So where's he going? He ain't going anywhere. You know.
That's
sorry,
I didn't cut you off. No, you're good. Shout out to Tony Konopka, right? Shout out to my man TK. shout out to my man TK with the $5 super chat, man. He says, my two favorite guys, thanks for all the work you put in. Pause. I knew what you meant, bro. Don't worry. We're gonna stomp some ass this year. Pinkies up and always loyal to the soil.
Pinkies up, bro. Baby. Got like class. That's right. See, all the Italians, all the Italian mafias, right? When they drink their little cappuccino, they always drink with the pinkies up. You ever notice that? The mafia guys drink with their pinkies up because they want to show off their pinky rings. So that's what they do. They got class,
It's so funny.
I need to get a big ass pinky ring. That's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get one.
Yeah. I want a
I'm going to wear it.
I drink a lot of tea, right? And when I drink tea, I'm always drinking with that pinky ring up, but I don't even think about it, right? It's almost like a habit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man! Shout out to Tony with the $5 super chat, man. Really grateful to you, my man. And I think this may be our final super chat. Then we can get into some more topics, before I let you go. So give me 1 second. Where I just lost it. StreamYard is the worst with these things. Here it is. My man David Dust with the $5 super chat. He says, "Salute, gentlemen. Awesome stream. They didn't pay AJ Brown all that money just to run the ball. Hurts is going to have to show improve. Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of that, a lot of pressure is on Jalen Hurts, now that this team is built the way it's built. Right. What do you need to see from Jalen Hurts going into the season, not just from a statistical perspective, but also from a mechanics perspective?
Well, I need to see Jalen Hurts. I want to see him, first of all, I want to see him remain in the pocket, right? Just don't, when you feel pressure, just bail right away. Stand in there and deliver the football. He needs to be more accurate. I think he needs to throw to spots, and he can't be afraid to throw into some tighter situations. Sometimes I feel like he won't let the ball go because, a guy may not be super wide open. So I need to see those things from him. The other thing I need to see him do, and one of the main things, I need to see him win games with his arm. I want to see what happens when the Eagles are down by 10 in the fourth quarter or something, and he has to throw the ball. When he starts making those plays with his arm, I'm gonna feel like, yeah, this is the guy. That's what I want to see. I want to see him win games with his arm.
I'm with you on that 100%. Jalen Hurts has to, in my humble opinion, like you said, he needs to take more risk, and I think he was. I felt like he looked at it as last season. You know what? I need to help my team more than I hurt them. I need to be if anything, I need to be the reason we win and not the reason we lose. Right.
Right.
And he has to take those next steps as a passer. We need to see him, take more chances. And we've seen him throw into some tight windows here and there. Yeah. On opening week, he threw that touchdown to Dallas Goedert in a really tight window. He also threw that back shoulder touchdown to Greg Ward in a Washington football game, arguably the best throw of his career. One of the biggest risks he's ever taken was throwing that deep ball to Devonta in double coverage, against the Broncos. So we just need to see him put it all together. And like you said, what do you do down 10? 8 minutes left in the game. You got the ball on. You got the ball on your 40. Can you drive down, score a touchdown, and then maybe drive down close enough to get a field goal and force overtime? Or can you drive down and score 2 touchdowns? You know what I mean? It's a handful of things we need to see him do to really show that he has evolved as a quarterback. And as much as we love his style, we love his leadership, we love what he brings to the table. We love the fact that, he's committed to his development, committed to his game. And unfortunately, I really believe that even if Jalen Hurts improves, because we know that he's going to improve. I don't have any doubt. I don't think you do either that he's not going to improve. He's going to improve. The question will always be, will it be enough for Howie Roseman to commit to him long term?
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah, so, I say all that to say, are the Philadelphia Eagles arguably the best team in the NFC East as it
In
stands
the
right
NFC
now?
East, yeah. I think the Eagles are the best team in the division. I think my expectations for the Eagles right now are that they win the division, they get a home playoff game, and they win that game. That's it. I'm not saying anything else. Now, let's say for an example, let's say Jalen Hurts goes out and he plays very similar to last year, right? He doesn't improve much. We get a lot of what we got last year. Well, based upon what he did last year with the roster we have now and with the schedule being easier, they should still win 11 games. They should still win 11 games with that. Now, let's say Jalen Hurts takes a couple steps. Well, I think at that point, if he takes a couple steps, let's say he throws 25 plus touchdowns. I think the NFC Championship game is realistic. I'm not saying they're going to win it or they're going to Super Bowl. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying I think they can go deep into the playoffs. And those are kind of my expectations for this team right now. So, yeah, I think they're the best team in the division. And I think they've been the best team in this division since they got Hassan Reddick, to be quite honest with you.
Interesting. Now, do we have the best D-line in the NFC East? Now, I said it's really arguable between us and Washington, but I feel like we have more depth than them. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we might have more depth. Hold on.
There you go. You're all good.
Okay, sorry, my headphones. Somebody connected to my headphones. I have these headphones, but when my wife puts her phone on, it connects to her phone. I don't know why. But anyways, so what we're saying now, what the best defensive line?
Yeah, the best D line.
So I think Washington has a pretty good defensive line if they're healthy.
Very, yeah. It's arguable.
So they worry me. My thoughts are this: Hassan Reddick is going to be a double-digit sack guy, right? Who's the other sack guy? This is my question I've been asking myself. Derek Barnett's coming back from injury. I worry about him. Josh Sweat started slow. What's he going to give us this year? Derek Barnett, I think, is trash. So I don't know who the other sack guys are going to be. Is it going to be that kid Williams as a defensive tackle? But you got to get more sacks from other guys than just Hassan Reddick. So to me, that's the only thing that worries me. And I see that more not as a defensive tackle, but more as your defensive ends. You know, who else is going to get home and produce besides Hassan Reddick? I wouldn't be surprised the Eagles went after like a Jadeveon Clowney or something. Like that's one sneaky move, like a defensive end, maybe not Clowney, but another defensive end to shore up that defensive line because I do think there is a little bit of questions. Like after Hassan Reddick, who else is producing sacks for you?
No, you're right. Like I'm with you on that because I'm one of the people who, and I haven't heard too many people say this, but and if they have, correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't heard too many people say that Josh Sweat needs to step up. I'm a Josh Sweat fan. I love Josh Sweat. I believe he's supremely talented. I believe he's arguably maybe the most talented, edge rusher we have outside of Hassan Reddick. And I just feel like he hasn't really lived up to that billing. Now, is it because the guys next to him haven't really, is it because if you watch him, he's so close to getting home, but really can't close the deal. And I'm a firm believer that this season in particular, now that you bolstered that D line, added Hassan Reddick and added some speed in the linebacker run, I do not see why not Josh Sweat can't be a double-digit sack guy. He's talented enough to do so. 10 sacks, you can't get 10 in a 17-game season. Like you can't get a sack every other game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's my concern about the defensive line is like where are you going to get that production? Now, I mean if Brandon Graham comes back and gives you 9 sacks and you're getting 7 or 8 from Josh Sweat, then okay, we're good to go. Well, he's got to do it. Otherwise, I need Josh Sweat to play better. He was good at the end of the year, but he was slow. He had a really slow start. So if you got to get production from somebody else on that defensive line besides Hassan Reddick. I think that's a challenge. And I just wonder, like, if there's a defensive end free agent available, I would not be surprised if that would be a sneaky, low-key move that the Eagles make that nobody would see coming.
So let me ask you this. We've talked about Josh Sweat having to take his game to another level. Who do you think on the defensive side of the ball needs to make the biggest improvement, needs to make the biggest jump?
Biggest jump from last year,
Correct. Yeah.
and I can't say Josh Sweat, right? Because it would
Right.
be Josh Sweat.
Right. Because he's he's my person, right? He's a person I think so. So I was wondering if you had somebody else in mind.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you on Sweat. I'm gonna say Epps. If I'm not gonna go to defensive line, I'm gonna say Epps. Can Epps become a legitimate starting safety here? So if he can make that jump and secure that other safety position besides Anthony Harris, I think it goes a long way. But if I had to choose one, it definitely would be your boy Josh Sweat. I've given up on Derek Barnett, so I'm not even mentioning him. I've given up on him.
I have too. When we re-signed him, I really was scratching my head, especially that time where we didn't really make that many moves. I'm sitting here. Well, you're re-signing Derek Barnett, but all these other guys are flying by you. I God honestly just don't get it at all. Let me pick your brain on the offense side of the ball now. We said who needs to make the biggest jump on defense. Who do you think needs to make the biggest jump offensively? And give a shout out to Jason Goodwin real quick for the 99-cent super chat. Really appreciate you for supporting my man. Thank you so much. Who do you think needs to make the biggest jump on offense? Not named Jalen Hurts.
Okay, that was easy until then. That was easy until then. I think I'm going to say this. I think Miles Sanders, right? Because I think Devonta Smith, you're going to get what you're going to get. I think Dallas Goedert, you're going to get what you get. I think the offensive line, you're going to get what you're going to get. But Miles Sanders had a really off year, in my opinion. Right? He still had a bad year, got hurt a little too much, still averaged 5.5 yards a carry. But I think he needs to make that jump. I think if he makes that jump as a premier running back, it'll go a long way. So I'm going to say Miles.
You know what? That's interesting because one of the topics I wanted to talk to you about was Miles Sanders and him being in his contract year. And, because I feel like he's in a very, very precarious situation. If he does too well, they're not going to pay him. Yep. If he doesn't do well enough, they're not going to be willing to resign him, and they're going to try to force him to take a pay cut. So what's your thoughts on Miles Sanders' current situation contractually and how it may influence his play on the field?
I think Miles Sanders is going to have a monster year. I think he's going to have a monster year, and we're going to have to let him walk. And they're going to let him walk because they're not going to pay him. That's what I feel like is setting up to happen. Because, listen, to me, Miles Sanders, I think he has the ability to be a top 5 running back. I think he has that ability. He's just been banged up too much. He hasn't been consistent enough. And, like I said, even in a bad year, the guy averaged 5.5 yards a carry. So if he can just stay healthy and put it all together, I think you got a top 5 back situation. And I could see him having a monster year in this offense. I mean, this offense you got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Goddard, that offense. Like, you have so much to worry about. And then you have Miles Sanders. I think he can have a monster year to the point where they can't pay him. Matter of fact, that's what I think is going to happen with him. And I can't blame the Eagles because I'm not sure I would pay a running back all that money anyways in today's NFL.
Right. I mean, the running back position, the wide receiver position has become the new running back position. Like we were saying, early on, the early 2000s, the 90s, 80s, it was a run heavy league. And now it's become a pass heavy league. And now you're seeing teams, starting to spend big money on wide receivers and not just spending big money on their number 1 wide receiver, but they're trying to get them like 2 and 3, like legit, like B+, A- wide receivers, because they understand that you need to be able to have you need to be able to have, enough bullets in that gun, especially when you get into the playoffs and you're running up against teams like, the Chargers and, the Chiefs and the Broncos and, all those types of teams. So, I mean, it's a really interesting situation. Miles Sanders, well, another way or another reason why he's in a precarious situation, because that running back room, let's be totally honest, a guy like Kenny Gainwell was more you can make an argument from a scoring perspective was more productive, was able to find the end zone way more. Kenny Gainwell, who was arguably the running back 3 and running back 4 some days, he managed to squeeze out over 500 yards from scrimmage and 6 total touchdowns. And you drafted him in the 4th or 5th round. That is a win. So having a guy like Kenny Gainwell, then you bring back Boston Scott, and then he also picked up the undrafted kid. I forget his name. But
the Kenny Brooks kid, the kid from Oklahoma, you mean?
Yeah, Kennedy Brooks. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Kennedy Brooks.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the running back room in general?
Well, I like Miles. I like Gainwell. Brooks, I think he's somebody that could actually make this team. But I still think they need one more running back. Mm-hmm. I still think they're short running back. I think I would not be surprised if they brought in a veteran running back at some point. We brought in LeGarrette Blount in 2017, like in June, like May or June. So it could happen. But I like the guys that they have. I definitely do. I just think you need a big physical back, and maybe Brooks is that guy. But I still would like a short yardage back, like a Jordan Howard type back, right? But he's just never healthy. He always has these stingers, then he's out like 4, 5, 6 weeks. It's crazy.
Right. And let's transition to this. The coaching staff, right? And I know we talked about a lot of pressure on them, and if we don't succeed, it's going to be on them, right? What are your expectations for Nick Sirianni from a coaching perspective? Because last season, he started off rough, but he managed to still hold on to his pride and hold on to his team, and was able to completely disregard what the whole plan was going into the season, and just created this new game plan. Said, look, we're going back to the basics. We're going to get physical. We're going to punch guys in the mouth, and we're going to live and die by it. We saw traits in Nick Sirianni that are pretty favorable as a head coach. What are your thoughts on Nick Sirianni currently, and what are your expectations for him, and what do you think he needs to do to really maximize the talent that he now has on offense?
I like him. I like Nick Sirianni because when they came out, they were throwing, and he went back and, like you said, he scrapped it all. And he went to a run-heavy offense because that was what our strength was. He recognized it and changed it. I think it's very important to have a coach, right? And I always remember Dick Vermeil said this. He said a good coach is a coach that looks at the players he has and builds his system around the talent. It's not trying to fit, a square peg in a round hole. It's adjusting to the talent you have. So what I expect from Nick Sirianni is I expect him to now make that adjustment again, where you're not running so heavy. Maybe you don't run Jalen Hurts in these design RPOs nearly as much, and you let him go back and throw the ball, and you take advantage of the talent you have. So I expect him to be able to get Devonta Smith the ball, A.J. Brown the ball, Dallas Goedert the ball, and maintain a run-heavy offense. And it's going to be a very interesting mix, but he did it before. He did it last year. I think he could do it again. What concerns me more than Nick Sirianni is his offensive and defensive coordinator. Can they get the job done? That I don't know.
Very, very good question. And Shane Steichen's name's not mentioned enough.
No,
because I feel like a lot of people still question what his actual role is, and the one thing I did hear was the fact that his role is to, he recommends the formation, and Nick Sirianni then calls the play out of that formation. Right. That's what I heard. Huh. But ultimately, you're right though. The coordinator does have to. These coordinators have to step up. This is the big year. Yeah. This is a big year for everybody involved, especially the way the schedule is set up. And we can close. We can close out. Discussing the schedule. What's your thoughts on our schedule at first glance? And, what are the benchmark games? What are the litmus test games that will indicate, okay, we've taken a step forward as a team?
No, let me see if I can pull this thing up real quick because I like to look at the schedule. My first thoughts on the schedule are this. There is nobody on this schedule that scares me at all. Like there's not one team on this schedule that I look at and say, "Oh, we can't beat that team," or we can't beat this team. Okay, there's not one team on the schedule. that's my first thought. When we played last year, I didn't think we were going to beat the Patriots. I didn't think we were going to beat Kansas City. I didn't think we were going to beat the Chargers. Like, I didn't think we could beat these guys. Who scares me on this? Maybe you got the Packers at home. You got that one stretch, week 11 through 13. You got the Colts in Indianapolis. Then you're home against the Packers and the Titans. I think they could win those games. It wouldn't surprise me if they won those games. Week 2, they got the Vikings. To me, I think the whole thing is to get off to a good start. I think the Eagles need to go into the bye week, maybe with 1 or 2 losses. At most, like maybe you lose to the Arizona because it's a road game, something like that. But I think you got to be like 5-1, 4-2, something to that effect. And I think if you are, you're in a good situation. I'll tell you what, that Cowboys game on Christmas Eve is the game that I want, because I want to ruin their Christmas bad. I can't wait to ruin their Christmas.
Bro, like you're so right about that. Like the games, man, like that. I'm really locking in on like that Christmas game, that Christmas Eve game. That is going to be the gift that just keeps on giving.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna be drinking so much eggnog after that game. I'm gonna be so happy. Because that game's like 1:00 in the afternoon on Christmas Eve, so it's like perfect. Over. I'm in Christmas mode. Yeah, I'm shutting down. I ain't doing nothing but drinking eggnog and celebrating. Dude. It's gonna be great.
Exactly, man. Like I'm looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be really exciting. Or do you plan on hitting up any games at all? You gonna try to make any?
If I'm in town, if I go visit family and stuff at the right time, I'll go to a game. I know Mark Holmes wants me to go to the Eagles game with him, but he's trying to set me up. So it's a setup. He's trying to get me to go, and then if the Eagles lose, a walk out of the Eagles stadium with a Cowboys jersey on. Like I'm crazy enough to do that. So they beat me up. It ain't gonna happen.
Oh my God, that is the ultimate finesse.
Yeah, he's trying to trick me. But I don't know. If I end up going to a game, most likely it would have to be between Thanksgiving and Christmas, because those are the times where I would come visit family there and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Well, man, super grateful to you, man, for really a lot, for gracing my platform, sharing, sharing your energy, sharing your tribe with me, man. I really appreciate you for taking the time out. It means a lot to me, man. We covered, so many topics, and really appreciate you for just being engaged. I can't really take that for granted, especially, we have lives, we have long days, and sometimes, talking about the same things can kind of, can become a little monotonous. So I appreciate you just still providing, great content, providing great energy, man. And, just staying committed to the game, man. Like, your commitment to your craft is spectacular, bro. I got to pay homage, man.
Oh man, you're too nice, man. You give me too much credit. I appreciate for you, having me on, man. It's an honor to come on. I love what you do. Keep up the great work, man, and thank you for having me on, man.
For sure. You guys, make sure you subscribe to 3500 if you aren't already. I'm pretty sure most of you guys, if not all of you guys, are. Make sure you guys smash that like button on this video. I am eternally grateful to you guys as well. Just want to do some quick shout outs. I know it's a lot of people in here. We've got over 200 people in here, damn near 300, but just going to start naming random names like E. Goodwin, Eagle Has Landed, J215 Hood, Message from a Golden Eagle, D Shift, J-Rock AZ, Ivan Mims, my man, DCF, Mr. West, West Little Rocks, 5 Rings, I Love Weed. Greek Warrior, Chuck Vanderwerker, J-Rock AZ, Benjamin Allen, man, just so many people in this live chat, bro. There's so many people I can't even name. Quezzy the Great, Nathan Hoffman, Tony B, Lucas Hallman, my man, Jadis Young. It's just so many of you guys in here. Your local football lover, Anthony Perry, ASM Army of Everything, Elijah Williams. You guys are amazing. It's too many people. There's too many people to name. All of you guys are truly, truly spectacular. My man Weezy, the Dreaded Eagle, popped in. Sloppy Joe, Sloppy Show, my favorite handle in the live chat right now.
Yeah.
You guys are truly, truly amazing. Jinx Wolf, Really appreciate y'all, man. And continue to smash that like button. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe to Philly 100.
So
Also,
sub him up. Sub him up. Sub him up. Sub up.
Appreciate
sub
you guys.
Sub up Tone.
For sure, man. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel as well. Chalking Up Sports. The content is still going to continue to flow. We're going to continue to give you guys dope energy. Look, you guys, Philadelphia Eagles fans, the sky is currently the view. The Philadelphia Eagles can really fly high beyond belief, man. And I'll be totally honest with you. I'm trying to take a shit in some Cowboys fan stockings. I'm trying to, I'm trying to take a crap at FedEx Field. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to. Well, the Giants. Well, we don't need to do anything with them. They're already crapping in their own arena.
Oh yeah.
So man, like all you guys that are in the live chat, Cowboys fans, because they love you and they hate you at the same time. 500. They always in the mix.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing. Cowboys fans, Eagles fans, Washington fans, Giants fans, football fans in general. You guys are truly, truly, truly the greatest, and I do not take it for granted at all. Also, J Love 47, kick rocks. Anyway, man, you guys are spectacular, like I always say. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. I was joined by my man, Philly 500. You guys were locked in on Chalking Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. One love, stay humble, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay hungry.